Good afternoon, family and friends. Today we have a power discussion to you. This is the Empowerment Exchange. We're going to be talking about where your vote, your voice, and why mail-in ballots are being thrown out and what you can do to correct it. So I have here with me Clayton, who is my co-host. Clayton.
Well, look, let me tell you about a story. This a story about a woman named Ruth. She was 73 years old. I want you to follow the story. She lives outside of Macon, Georgia. She's been living in that same house for about 40 years. People programmed this, living in that house for 40 years. She voted in every presidential election since 1976. Every single one. Rain, shine, long line, it didn't matter. Ruth showed up. I just want y'all to please understand in 2024, for the first time in her life, Ruth voted by mail. Follow the story. Her need has been given her trouble. She filled out every form that she possibly can. She sealed every envelope. She followed every instruction she's been given. She put it in the mailbox herself. Follow the story, people. Watch the trucks come up and take it. And for me, her ballot was never counted. And she had no idea, not until months later when her granddaughter looked it up online. Ruth voted. 50 years of showing up. And nobody told her that her vote did not count. That is a shame. And
it is, Clayton. It's what's happening. And we're going to tell people why it's happening and what they can do to prevent it. But Ruth is not alone, not even close.
You're right.
In the 2024 general election, more than 584,000 mail-in ballots were rejected nationwide.
Well, how many was it? How many?
584,000 were rejected. Over 500,000 votes gone. And study after study shows that Black voters, first-time voters, and voters with low-income communities face rejection rates at far higher than their white counterparts. Mm-hmm. This is not an accident, folks. You need to stay tuned and listen to this. This is not an accident.
Well, I mean, it may not be an accident, but to me, it's some things that is, hey, family, thank you for being here. And I mean, every single person that's pressing the play right now, please listen. You made a choice to show up for yourself and your community today, and that matters to me.
So, stay with us, because what you're about to hear, folks, can change your vote forever. I want to personally welcome you to the Empowerment Exchange. This podcast is where me and Clayton come together to help you learn, grow, and lift each other up with truth and love. I'm your co-host, Sheila, and as always, I'm joined by the brilliant and the thoughtful, my partner in this work, Clayton. Mm-hmm. And it,
Clayton, what are you saying? And that feeling is valid, Sheila. And we're not going to dismiss anything, but we're going to push back on it so people can understand. We're going to push back on it with facts, with love, and with kind of clarity that only comes when you understand exactly what is happening and exactly what can you do about it.
Folks, again, please note today's episode is an important one, and it's called Your Vote, Your Voice, and why mail-in ballots are being thrown out, and what can you do right now. We're going to get into the specifics and the technical reasons why your ballot can be rejected. We're also going to talk about the current legal landscape, because things have changed since 2024. We're going to give you a clear, actionable list of things you can do this week. So today, before you go to bed tonight, Clayton's going to tell you what you need to do to get started.
Well, That's what most people they think. And believe me, that assumption that is reasonable is a logical assumption that most people need to understand. Exactly what get hundreds of thousands of people's vote thrown away every single time. And Sheila, I'm gonna say this right now. Throwing votes away, and this woman thought that her vote counted for 50 something years and find out that her vote didn't count it. Hey, the only thing that I'm going to say in every single election cycle.
So let's walk through the most 5 common mail-in reasons, Clayton, why ballots get rejected. And this is going to be very thorough. So, I mean, I really want to walk through them so people can understand, because the devil is in the details.
Yeah, right.
And that's exactly where they want us to trip up. Clayton, talk about the number 1.
But it's the signature mismatch. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest one in the mail-in ballots. Other word, in 2024. Signature mismatch was the number 1 reason ballots were rejected. Accounting for more than 40% of all rejection nationwide.
That's big.
That's big. And how it works, when you return a mail-in ballot, the election workers compare the signatures of your envelope and the signature that you have on file. Now you see how that works? And often the one from where you registered to vote potentially years ago. If it doesn't match, there's a problem.
That is a problem, because I sign my signature different ways. So you mean to tell me you got a human person looking at what you signed back then and what you signed today, and if it don't match, they throw it out?
You're right.
That's a problem. And here's why I need everyone to hear this. Comparison is subjective. It's very subjective. There's no machine that says yes or no.
You're right.
That person don't got no training deciding whether your signature looks right. And research published just this year in a peer-reviewed journal found that evaluators reject signatures associated with Black and Hispanic names at higher rates than identical signatures tied to white names. Listen, folks.
You're right, Chill. And I'm going to say, the same signature that they're talking about is different names on the envelope. It's different outcome. This is not a glitch. This is bias embedded into the process. And I'm glad we're talking about this.
It truly is. And I hope people are taking notes right now, because I'm going to talk about number 2. Missing or incorrect witness and notary requirements. Some states, now this is wild, require that someone witness you signing your ballot. Some require a notary. Do we know that? Most people don't. And it's different. It depends on what state you're in. So imagine Miss Dorothy, 74 years old, who's been voting for decades. She requests her mail-in ballots, fill out every line how she's supposed to do, signs her name, but nobody told her that her state needed a witness signature. So her ballot gets rejected, and she may never find out why.
I mean, so you can see that those glitches in the system. You got the one that's known and the unknown. I mean, it seems as though that the elderly, based upon, Ruth and this lady, they're being misguided or being misled. And the only thing that I'm going to say, Sheila, this requirement aren't posted anywhere is obvious. It's not posted. There is no big bold warning on the envelope. So, I mean, put it in bold where people can understand it. And if you move from one state to another, you can come up from Alabama to Pennsylvania. The rules you used to don't apply anymore. So when you go into these states, you got to understand what the rules are, when it comes down to mail-in ballots and stuff like that.
And that's why we need to stay woke and stay educated on this, because they change every year. And just because you're used to mailing in stuff and you thinking your vote count. Oh, I voted today, but did you really vote?
You're right.
Because you're throwing out stuff, but any little, if you don't dot the I, cross the T, and your name is invalid.
You're right.
I mean, that's what they're saying. And number 3 is late arrival. And I cannot stress this enough, Clayton. The postmark and I did not know this, the postmark is not the deadline in most states. You know how they say if you get it
Right. I thought
like
that's what the latest state.
most states require the ballot to be received by election day or the day after. Not mail, not postmark, received.
Received.
So if you put that ballot in the mailbox on November 4th, even with a postmark of November the 4th, and they don't arrive till the 6th in the state with a receipt deadline, it does not count, Clayton.
Wow. Hey, this is good information.
This is very important that people know this.
So if you are mailing in those ballots, so you got to get it notarized or get it approved?
No, you got to mail it way before. The postmark date is not going to count.
Okay, got you.
Because they're looking at the time they actually physically receive your ballot. They're not looking at the date you put it in the post office. So that tells you cannot be late on mailing your ballots in.
That's true.
You got to be at least 2 weeks ahead of time sometime with this mail. It's no guarantee that they're going to get it on time.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So this is what we want people to know.
Well, Sheila, I don't know about you and anybody else, but it sounds like a lot of the bureaucrats, a lot of bureaucracy and almost ridiculous. But this catches people every time by not knowing. And read every word of those instructions. Don't go about, well, this is what they're saying. Depends on who you're talking to, can lead you into a trap. So you need to read those valid for understanding and for clarity. And if you don't, you need to ask somebody, can I get clarification on this? So
it's November the 4th. I mean, the postmark on the post office again, folks. It don't count. It don't matter. Clayton, talk about the postal service themselves.
Well, the thing is, though, Sheila, about the postal service, that part. You mean a number? The fifth topic that we're talking about, misinformation on the envelope.
We have to mail them, like I say, 2 weeks in advance because the margins for error are not in our favor.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They're not in our favor. So let me talk about number 4. Number 4, you might be using the wrong envelope. Come on now. The wrong envelope. If you're older, please get these younger folks to help you. The wrong envelope or that missing secrecy sleeve. It's like 2 envelopes that they send you with your mail-in ballot. One is the inner privacy envelope, they call it, or secrecy envelope. Your ballot goes inside that one first. And then on the outer one, if you skip that inner envelope that they give you, it's rejected, Clayton.
Wow, man, that's what I think people don't know.
Yeah, if you're using the wrong envelope, it's rejected. If you don't seal it properly, it's rejected.
Again, Sheila, I'm going to say it again. It sounds like a lot of bureaucracy bullshit going down with these elections. And it's almost ridiculous. And when you look at the cause and the effect, but this catches people's every time. Other words, they thinking one thing and the ballot saying another thing.
Well, they're doing it purposely, Clayton.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They're doing it purposely. But what about those uneducated people that don't understand?
That's why we need to help them. If people cannot read, or some people interpret things different, like I can read the same thing you read and I can interpret it differently, or you can interpret it differently. We need to make sure our folks understand what the rules are. We need to help them. And we need to have some training on that, because this is why we're talking about this, because this is very, very important. If you want your vote to count, our voices, that's why we're talking now, because it matters. And number 5 is missing information on the envelope itself.
Wow, man, this is an education experience.
All of this depends on what state you're in, Clayton, because all states don't do the same thing. Some states need notary, some states don't, so it's nothing, across the line consistent.
But if you get caught without knowing this information and you thinking that went in and moved to another state and found out the state got different law, that means that it worked for the benefit of that state.
You know what? My request, and after I'm reviewing this, I requested everybody, if they can, vote in person. Because they're making it, they're trying to change the rules anyway, but they're not going to take mail-ins. But until that happens, we still need to be educated on what they're looking at. So many states require you to write your name, address, and date on outside of the return envelope, not just sign it. So if you leave off the date, it could be rejected in some states. If you forget your if you don't use your address up there, it's rejected. If you use the wrong format, Clayton, it's rejected. So some jurisdictions have rejected ballots over that. It depends on the jurisdiction. And you know what they're gonna do?
Right.
You know what they're gonna do, right?
Oh yeah.
You know what they're doing.
They're gonna rig it and to find out how many people we need.
Well, they're going to know if you're in a black district based on your zip code.
Yeah, yes, that's true. That's true.
They're going to put those aside and say, no, they filled out wrong. We got to think ahead, but we got to have our stuff right.
That's true. But this information that you talk about now, believe me, a lot of people is not aware of that. Just writing the wrong signature or getting it stamped.
I wasn't even aware of it.
And you know what, Sheila, look, I want to take a second here. I really want to take it because I've been watching, you, Sheila, you list all these ways ballots can fail. And I know some of you are sitting here thinking, wow, I didn't know that. But this feels intentionally, when you look at how the bureaucracy works, this is intentionally. And I want you sitting here thinking what that intention is about. It's about having Black peoples under control. And I want to honor what you say, Senator, sorry.
Having Black people vote, not count.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to disqualify it.
And I want to honor that instinct because you are not wrong to think that way. That isn't new. That's part of the strategy. They have always found ways to make sure our vote disappear without technical taking them. How conveniently, out of thin air, the vote comes up missing. And the poll taxes, the literacy tests, and grandfather clause, and the method change. Its intent hasn't changed at all. And it's half of the battle. If you know the trap, Sheila, they got to know what the trap they fall into because you can walk right around them and what today is all about. These traps are set up intentionally. And Sheila, what I want to know, what do you think about those traps?
Clayton, knowledge, Clayton, it's not just power. Knowledge is protection. So we're going to take a very break and let people digest what we just talked about. The steps I went over on what you need to take. Be very precautious, and when you're doing these mail-in votes, we're going to be talking about the law, not as it was, as it is right now, because in May of 2026. Because the legal landscape around the mail-in voting has shifted.
Yep, you're right.
Has shifted. There are things happening right now in Georgia, in Texas, Louisiana, where you at, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, that our community needs to understand.
And I want to ask you something to sit with you during the break. I just want you to sit back and I want you to relax, but I want you to be able to process. If the laws are supposed to protect your rights to vote, why do so many people feel less protected than ever? Why? We're going to dig into that. We want you to stay with us. We don't want you to hear what we say. We want you to listen because listening requires process. Hearing because, is just in a distraction.
Mhm.
This is real talk.
Mhm.
People, the voting thing coming up in November, you preachers, you churches, you local neighbor, you need to make sure that you hear what mail-in ballot. If you don't come up with the right idea or signature, look, your vote don't count. And that's where you call into a trap at.
Right.
And so
I'm gonna talk about the legal updates that just occurred, Clayton. Okay. Clayton and I want you to do it this way, listeners. We need y'all to do it. We're going to talk in plain language so you can understand. Clayton, can you start off with this segment?
Okay. This is exactly what we're going to do it. How are we going to do it? So the legal landscape around mail-in voting in 2026 is complicated. So I need y'all to listen. And I say complicated, not to intimidate you, but just to make you aware. I say this to prepare you for what these clowns are trying to stack the deck against you. Because understanding what has changed is the first step to navigate it. You need to understand the changes. And Sheila, I'm going to say this, but we can come back to it. In a lot of states, if you go to jail and got a criminal record, you can't vote. But we'll talk about that another time.
But that's why they want to incarcerate us.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about it. Let's start at the federal level. Okay, folks, the Voting Rights Act, the landmark 1965 law that was supposed to protect voters, and particularly Black voters, from discrimination. Suppose. That's not a concrete word.
Right, right.
Suppose. It has been significantly weakened over the past several years through the Supreme Court decisions. Let me tell you this again. The Voting Rights Act has been significantly weakened over the past several years through Supreme Court decisions. The Bronick ruling in 2021 made it harder to challenge state voting restrictions under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Amendment Act. So what does that mean practically, Clayton?
Well, look, let me tell you exactly what it means. It means that even if a new voting law disproportionately harm Black voters, and we can show the data proving that. It ain't something we made up, we're going to show it. It's much harder to get a court to strike it down if a state can offer any neutral justification for it. Election integrity, fraud prevention. Now, don't get me started on my trip, because security, those words get used like a shield to defend policies to in practice work like it's a barrier. And I hope people understand a barrier is something that you got to walk through, kind of cross, is holding your back. And so I just want to, man, I love this conversation.
Yeah, but when you said neutral, you know what neutral means?
You're right.
Justification that a state can strike it down. That means they can decide what they want to do. It's no policy tied to it. It's neutral.
You're right.
That's the way I understand.
Well, when you look at it, there's no other way to look at it. Neutral. Hey, man, I'm gonna stay neutral about it. What is that saying?
Yeah, I ain't gonna say you ain't gonna say nothing.
Exactly.
So this is a lot to digest, but it's very important that we dive into this. And in 2025 and 2026, we've seen state legislators move quickly. Let's talk about some specific states, because where you live matters now.
You're right.
Where you live matters.
That's real talk. And let's talk about Georgia. Georgia has been a battleground. And ever since of that word, battleground. Since 2024, Georgia has tightened the window for requesting a mail-in ballot. Why? A new ID requirement for absentee ballot requested in some counties, and cut back on the numbers of official ballot drop box. Well, what is that saying? Why? Which were particularly used in urban areas. predominantly black counties like Fulton and Dakota,
DeKalb.
the DeKalb, the litigation is ongoing. But the restrictions are currently in effect. People, wake up.
Why do you think they're getting rid of the ballot boxes?
You're right.
They targeting low income areas.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. With people, it's hard transportation to come by those areas. So they're limiting the number of mail-in ballot boxes.
No, I mean,
and a new ID requirement. So they're doing all this extra stuff,
right?
To prevent people from voting that counts.
You're right.
So for someone in Georgia right now, practically speaking, what does that mean, Clayton?
Well, I mean, if you want to vote by mail in Georgia, listen what I'm saying. If you want to vote by mail in Georgia, you need to plan early. Well, how do you plan early? You need to have the right ID documentation ready. When you request your ballot, you need to know that the drop box nearest to you may no longer exist. What are you going to do next? You may need to mail it or find a Pacific County office to return it to the person. Sheila, it making it so inconvenient for black voters to get ahead. And this is what's happening, these gerrymandering, redistribution area. What is the reason? To control black voters. And
I think it's trying to control everything.
Well, that's true.
Because you're going to need your darn birth certificate sooner or later, about to vote. They're going to want a passport, birth certificate, driver license. If you don't have that, they probably won't let you do anything now.
That's true. But Sheila, let me ask you something. These laws are written to hurt minority people. It is to protect white people. I don't care how you look at it.
Yeah.
Then okay, now let's change the Voting Rights Act. Let's redistrict. Why? Because the white supremacists think that we are ignorant, we are dumb, we don't know what they're trying to do. And this is what they question our intelligence.
Well, you know what? We need to take our butts right to that same area and vote.
Exactly.
We cannot discourage us from not doing what we're supposed to do, because our voices and our votes matter. And that's why we're talking about this.
That's true. I mean,
so let me tell you, since we talked about Georgia, let's go into Texas.
Okay, well, let's talk about Texas. Texas has already had some of the strictest mail-in ballot. Noted, they had some of the strictest mail-in ballot laws in the country.
Wow.
Now think about it. It's a red state. Only voters 65 and older and those with a qualifying disability or absent can vote by mail at all.
So they restricted it to only. How do you know you're not disabled?
Look, I'm telling you so. Let me give you a little. In 2021, Texas added a requirement that voters include their driving license number on their last 4 digits of their Social Security number on the ballot application and envelope. And if these numbers don't match, guess what? You don't count.
That's why I talked about earlier. It's important for us to know the laws of the state that you're in.
You're right. You're right. And Sheila, since we talk about Texas in 2024, thousands of Texas ballots was flagged in the first day after the law took effect. Black and Latino voters were disproportionately impacted. This is why we got to stand up for what we believe in. We cannot sit back and allow these people to think that we're ignorant, we're stupid. I mean, in their mind, it's not about race. Well, what the hell is it about?
Well, let me make sure I understand this correctly, Clayton. You're saying they rejected ballots because a number didn't match what was on the state's database?
Yep, that's exactly That's what I'm saying.
Not because of fraud, but because someone is impersonating a voter.
Yep.
It's an administrative data mismatch.
You're right. I mean, look.
You know, these things, when you got data, if the data is not updated, it's not going to match. No way.
You're right.
Who's responsible for updating the data? Quote,
you as the voter. So I look, like I said, Sheila, you are exactly right. A clerical mismatch.
Yeah, but you know, humans input data. Suppose I slept on the job or somebody didn't come to work and didn't update the stuff. You're going to have a mismatch anyway, but you know what? You're going to target those minorities because you got our race up on that card.
Hey, and you know, hey, Jay, like I said, sometimes it's caused by database error that the state made. The state made that now.
God.
See what I'm saying? It wasn't enough to qualify a legal voter. Now, the state made that.
So you're going to penalize the person trying to vote?
Exactly.
The state made a. See. Okay, I'm hot on this. Let me move on. You know, Arizona and Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona and Pennsylvania. Both of those states have been active litigation around the mail-in voting rules. Arizona faced legal battles over signature processes, specifically whether voters must be given the opportunity to correct a flag signature before the election is certified. Let me tell you about Arizona. That's where Cass lives at, right? My son.
Mm-hmm.
When he went to renew his driver's license, they rejected it.
Why? Because it didn't match?
Because he was a military dependent born overseas.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They said his birth certificate was not legit.
Overseas birth, if you born a contract to
they gave him a hard time. I had to originally find an original copy with the raised seal to send to him. He never had that problem before.
He got the Arizona.
Yes.
Wow.
So I know what they're doing. They even give military dependents a hard time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes when you see these mail-in ballots, we haven't got the overseas military balance stuff yet. And you're always saying that, well, the military balance got to come from all over overseas. And Sheila, and that brings up one of the most important unreported concepts about mail-in voting. The curing process. Some states, people, I need you to understand this. Some states, not all states, I said some states, have a process by which if your ballot is flagged for a potential issue, you are contacted and given a chance to fix it. Now, some states now. And to cure the ballot, you must have to come in with an ID or sign an affidavit or provide additional verification. But you will get your chance.
I wonder what states there are, though, because they really don't.
They don't advertise the states.
Advertise it. You know, they want you to know this, but it's good to know to ask that question. We need to find out what state you're in if you're a cure state.
Mm-hmm.
Some states don't have it. And if your ballot is flagged or rejected, and you find out after the election is over. So you did all that, and you don't even know nothing wrong with your mail-in ballot.
You're right. And this is where we need to educate. But let's talk about Wisconsin again. Wisconsin has expanded its cure process, which is a win.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. And some jurisdictions in Michigan and North Carolina has also moved forward more robust notification system. These are real wins that voters advocate organization has fought hard for.
Yeah, that's a good thing for those states because at least they're giving them a chance. But I want to do something here because sometimes in these conversations, people they want to hear all the bad news.
That's true.
They don't think nothing's worked, but people, we are fighting. Organizations and courts, some of them are winning, and wins are being won. It's not all darkness. So we got to keep hope alive, you know, and make sure we're doing and knowing our laws and what state we live in and what the common errors and misfaults are.
Mm-hmm. Sheila, you're right. But here's the other thing people need to know. The voters roll purge. Well, what they do purge, tell you one thing, they're throwing it shit away. This is happening across the country. States are removing voters from the registration roll. Sometimes with minimum notice.
That means
often, yep.
Oh my gosh.
Often disproportionately affecting voters who have cast a ballot recently, or voters who have moved, or if you have not checked your registration status, you need to do that this week. Today is possible. And Sheila, just like I say, it's your responsibility to make sure that your ballot is correct, because it could be easily misread or mishandled, or your vote don't count.
You know, I think the important thing in what you just said, like in the military, you move a lot. If you move, you better make sure that your address is updated and you have a correct registration card. I mean, when you can discover you're no longer eligible to vote. And after the election day, that's too late.
Well, Sheila, let me ask you this. I mean, you was overseas. What if you stayed overseas? If you moved from Germany to would that matter? Does that have any impact, or you got to show which way where you moved?
I think with everything going right now, any little mismatch tied to your name can void your vote.
Like I said, it's
you really have to stay up on it. It don't matter. You overseas has many different PSC boxes, APO.
That's what I was getting ready to say. PSC box.
So it's just like when you look at your credit report, it keeps note of all your addresses you lived at, right? So you got to make sure when you move that you change all this stuff. I wouldn't take it for granted just being in the military, just because I was at Ramstein and moved to Simba, that they got the correct. You know, you just got to be over precautious and cognizant today.
Well, you know, Sheila, I mean, the law is complicated and it is shifting, and that is by design. By many cases, it's by design. But here's what is not complicated: your power, not complicated. Your right, not complicated. And your community ability to navigate this together. That's what I believe.
Yeah, you're right. So the law is complicated. It's shifting. And we got to stay on top of it. We got to stay woke, folks. And that's why we can't afford to be uninformed. So we're going to talk about this organization called the Roots Collective. Have you heard of them?
Well, to be quite, no, I have not heard about it.
Yeah, that's
what they call the Roots Collective.
It's based in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so these are everyday people, Clayton. They organizers, faith leaders, retired teachers, young students who have come together to specifically help voters navigate the mail-in ballot process. So they're helping each other. So they do workshops, which is a great idea. They do one-on-one sessions. They help the seniors fill out the forms correctly. They make the phone calls. They do follow-up. This is kind of ground level organizing that does not make the national news, but it absolutely changes elections, because, you know, you're teaching, you're coaching, you're there helping people. So your mail-in vote counts.
Well, you know, I tell you what, Sheila, that's something that I need to look into down here in Louisiana. The Root Collectors. I mean, we need to find out where these organizations, like the Root Collectors, are, and why we have hope. When you got all these retired teachers out there, they just educating you. And if you're a part of something like that in your community, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Remember the Root Collectors. And we can come and find us in the Empowerment Exchange online community. Share your story, share what your organization is doing, and make each other stronger. I'm glad Is this on the webpage, Sheila? These the root collectors?
Yes. Folks, what we're gonna do is we're gonna find out some more information for you on the Root Collective.
Mm-hmm.
But write that down. That's something that will help us in the community, help other people.
Yes.
Make sure they mail-in ballot process are correctly filled out. So that community is growing every single week. People are sharing resources. If you know something like we're doing right now, the Empowerment Exchange, we're sharing information. We have to support one another. We got to ask questions. That's what it's all about.
You look, I'm going to say this, and I got a little emotional. We talked about that Wisconsin and things like that. But Sheila, I think we have certainly have given them a lot of information, the impact of the Black communities. And so is there anything else that?
Well, that's what we want to talk about, the impact.
Okay, I got you.
What it does to a person and what it does to a community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Sheila, okay, what you want to talk about what it looked like actually?
Well, the data is clear, disproportionately clear. Black voters, young voters, and first-time voters face mail-in ballot rejection, Clayton.
Yep, you're right.
Typically higher in older white voters. It doesn't happen in isolation, Clayton.
You're right.
Same communities that face voter ID barriers. Voter ID barriers. This is strategic play to put on our communities so something can go wrong and don't count. These same communities that lost polling locations have to travel far to vote in person.
That's true.
So what they're doing is, these communities, it's like redlining, targeting those communities to have fewer resources so you can, so they can control.
Yep, exactly. That's the main thing is to be able to control. And Sheila, the data is clear. Disproportionately is very clear. Black voters, especially like the young voters, and the first-time voters face mail-in ballot rejection rate significantly higher than older white people, just like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't happen in isolation. These are the same counties that face voters' ID barriers. So please don't be caught blind.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same community that loses polling location and have to travel further to vote in person. The same community with fewer resources to navigate a complicated system. I mean, without legal help. Sheila, we got to educate. What we're doing now, people don't understand the impact and how Black voters are affected by these decisions being made by these legislations, by red states. Well, not on red.
You got to keep speaking up, Clayton. It compounds. Every barrier stacks on top of the last one. If they don't fix one thing, they're gonna add something else up there.
That's true.
About that, they're gonna change something so we don't. I mean, we're gonna keep complaining anyway. Well, why don't Black voters turn out if the system isn't working overtime to make it harder? As if exhaustion isn't a rational response to the obstacle after obstacle, Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
The people saying that, why don't Black voters turn out? We are turning out. You just throwing away our ballots.
That's true.
Trying to make it harder for us to get to the polls.
Mm-hmm. But Sheila, when you said when it compounds every barrier, and you continue to say neither will, but we are also going to tell the truth about it. Mm-hmm. So, but the DA who decided whether to prosecute police misconduct, the school board that determined the curriculum of your child are taught, the ballot method that could fund or defund the local public hospital. These are not abstract political. They're not. That's political conversation. They are the decision that touches the life of every single day.
Well, we need to vote because the local elections, school board races, district attorney elections, state legislature seats, ballot measures about housing and healthcare and education, these are decided by hundreds of votes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes single digits, Clayton. And when our ballots are rejected in those numbers, the race flips to change outcome. But I want to tell you about Marcus, who's 22 years old. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. First time he ever voted was in the 2024 general election. He heard the older people talk about how important it was. So he heard it from his grandmother. He heard it from his pastor, and he believed it. He believed it enough to register, and he requested a mail-in ballot and to fill it out. He signed it, he sealed it, dropped it in the blue USPS collection box week before election day. He went to bed feeling like something was done, right? You know, he felt good about it.
Felt good. He did the right thing.
Yeah, it's something that connected him to something, you know, it's more than himself. So guess what? His ballot was rejected.
Wow. And did everything according to the instruction.
Signature mismatch.
Oh, okay, guys. Yeah, we talked about that.
His signature changed since he registered to vote 2 years earlier. You know how we have two different signatures? Sometimes sign stuff, you don't want people to know your name.
Yep.
So if you got to remember how you sign your signature, especially for young people who handwriting, it's, you know, you still trying to figure that signature out, because you know now they don't teach you how to do that handwriting.
That's true. Absolutely.
And nobody sent him a letter. Nobody called him. No, he found out 5 months later when he looked up his ballot online. People, you better be looking up your ballot online. And he found out by accident. But I want you to think about this, folks. Think about what this 22-year-old went to. Who showed up? What was he supposed to do? Who believed him? How many Marcuses are there out there right now, Clayton?
That's true.
How many? We don't want them to give up because the system gave up on them.
That's true.
What's the cost, Clayton?
Well, I tell you what the cost is. That is the real cost. It's not just one ballot, Sheila. It's not just one ballot. It's one person's faith in democracy. And when you lose that, especially when you lose it at your early 20s, like you were talking about Marcus, and it's hard to get it back. That trust. You don't plant a wound that is kind of hard to heal.
But we gotta tell our folks not to give up. Marcus can get back. And that's what we want these younger folks to do. You know, you got to have perseverance. You got to keep pushing.
Right.
For this episode was for us to talk about Marcus and for you to talk about Ruth. It's for Miss Dorothy, for every person who tried and was failed by the system that it was supposed to serve them.
Look, every minority person should share this, because you done learned something about your voting that in your mind you think you're doing everything right. This is just an educational thing for you to be aware of the upcoming election and how they're trying to throw curveballs on them. And I'm gonna say this with the real card, Sheila, just like I say, I want to read something to all of you. It's not a direct quote. It's a reflection inspired by the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer, a woman who was beaten. Think about this. This woman was beaten. She was jailed and threatened for trying to register to vote in Mississippi in 1962. A woman who stood before the Democratic National Convention 2 years earlier and told the truth when powerful people begged her not to talk about it. And this is for her, and it is for us. Remember, we didn't wade through the waters and sing through those jails and stand in those fields under the Mississippi sun. And that our children could be too tired. Our children be too tired to vote. But we did not come this far to fold, not under any pressure. So we need to understand it. Not under confusion, not under the law designed to smoke-filled room by people who never had to fight for the simple right to be counted. So I just need y'all to please understand And we are here because somebody paid a price for us to be here. Our forefathers, our grandfathers, and those who have died for this country. And the least, the very least we can do is to show up and to be able to inform people and prepare unashamed. And we are going to refuse to give up under these crucial times in our life.
That's right. That's right, Clayton.
And when you make it hard to vote, Sheila, you are betting that we'll quit.
We're not going to quit.
We're not going to quit. But they are counting. That's what they're counting on.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time we show up, anywhere, when we vote, when we know our rights, when we tell each other the truth, that's the problem. And when everything we didn't plan on, we win each other. We win our own dignity back. Our dignity is important. Our pride, our joy. Again, Sheila, this is a conversation that the pastors, the local community should organize an organization. Bring these peoples in. Bring the ballot in. Teach them. A lot of people can't read. So they go in these voting booths. They don't know whether they vote for a Republican. They just see names. And this is where they get crossed up in.
Yes. And that's why I think the Root Collective in Atlanta, Georgia is doing great things for our people.
Look, I learned something, and you can believe. Let's do a research and how we can be able to help our people to get ahead of this game before 2026. And so for me, myself, and I, and I'm going to say this, and when we're talking about check your ballot status, Sheila, we talk about number 1, number 2, number 3.
I want to do a recap, and people, y'all need to pay attention.
Please listen up.
I'm going to do one recap. I'm going to go over it very quickly, but we need y'all. This is a call for action for everybody. Number 1, check your ballot status.
Check your ballot status.
Every state has a tracking tool, and you can go to your state election board website or go to vote.org right now. If you voted by mail recently, check it. Check it. Validate.
Hey, Jill, let me ask you something. For those out there, when you go to vote, now do you got to put your social security number and all that stuff in there?
I believe so, but
okay, I would think that to make
everything in there about how you register, it should come up with your name and it'll tell you your status. But that's how you check your ballot status. Number 2, vote in person if you can. We want you to have those options, but mail-in voting right now is something that's really not good right now. I mean, they trying to swap every kind of rule, and it's subjective. You don't even know if it's going to count. So, but if you got the ability to show up in person, especially in a close election, it eliminates that risk in the mail-in entirety. Number 3, if you mail it early, not a week early.
Gotcha.
At least 2 weeks. I would mail that thing 3 weeks early. The postal system always has delay, and guess what?
That's right.
Control on the postal system. Remember what time that happened?
I remember.
Life has delays, so give yourself buffer you deserve. Number 4, know your state's curing process if they have it. Can you fix a rejected ballot before the deadline? Can you get a notification? Look up it right now for your state before the elections happen, so you know what your rights are. Don't learn about this 7:00 on election night. It's too late.
Right. That's true.
Number 5, check your voter registration. Again, go to vote.org right now. Today, folks, make sure you are still registered to vote and that your address is current. Very important. And your name is correct. If you got married or something like that, a divorce, and you changing your name, you got to make sure all this stuff is correct. You can't assume because you registered last year that is the same. I mean, we got to validate. We have to validate everything we do in this process. Number
That's
6,
true.
tell 3 people. Share this episode. Play it at church. Talk about it at the barbershop, the beauty salon, dinner table with your family. This information doesn't help anyone if it stays in your lap.
That's true.
It doesn't help anybody. Number 7, get connected to a voter protection hotline. If you have a problem on election day, a ballot issue or a polling place problem, you got to call 1-866-OUR-VOTE. That's 1-866-687-8683. Say it with me. 1-866-OUR-VOTE. Write it down. Put it in your phone database.
That's important.
It's very important.
And they can call this number here for any type of voting situation. No, I think hey, that's good. People, I hope y'all. I hope they wrote that number down, Sheila. Could you repeat that number again for all you out there?
Yes, it's 1-866-OUR-VOTE, and that translates to 1-866-687-8683.
Okay.
And
you know, I mean this sincerely. Don't just listen or move on. Let this episode be the thing that makes you do something this week. One thing, just do it this week. We want you to do. Check your registration. Share. We want you to share this episode. We want you to save the hotline number. And because action is how we make all this real. So I'm saying that to Sheila have discussed people. This voting stuff ain't no joke. For you all that live in these rural areas, for you kids that have dropped out of high school and stuff like that, this is the time for us to form a task force. Because if we can keep you dumb, sir, you don't know what's going on.
And we need to make sure our youth are paying attention, because once they get locked up or incarcerated, they can't vote. So what you think is going to happen more?
Oh, you don't play right into their hand. In other words, the more black people we lock up and take their voters registration form, that's like playing against a stacked deck of cards, Sheila.
Yeah.
The deck is already stacked against you.
Well, I'm ready to close out. Before we close out, I want to take this moment because I believe, and Clayton believes, that the work of voting is sacred work. It takes your part. It takes you to take action right now. And so I wanted to offer this blessing to everyone listening here. And I hope you come to this moment, whatever your faith or tradition or whatever your background, to receive this in your spirit. May you walk in clarity and courage. May the names of those who bled and marched and sang their way to the ballot box go before you as a lamp to your feet. May you feel in the weight of your own vote the prayers of every ancestor who has told their voice did not matter. And may you know deep, deep in your spirit that it does. It always has, and it always will. And may this community, this beautiful community, be resilient, unbreakable. We have to rise together, show up together, and refuse not to be counted.
I love that prayer, and I think
I pray. Amen.
Amen. And we want to thank you to every single person who spent their time with us today. So it's been a pleasure as well as a privilege. And I don't take this lightly. Time is one thing none of us can get back. And so you choose to spend a piece of your time with us and your space with us, with this community. That means everything to us. That means that you're willing to do your part and you're willing to help the community to grow by showing people about the importance of voting.
Folks, me and Clayton have this Empowerment Exchange podcast exists because we truly believe an informed community is an unstoppable community.
That's true.
We both are rooted in faith. We are grounded in truth. And we are always rising together just to bring this information to you. This is just not a tagline that we up here having a podcast. This is our commitment to you in every single episode to educate you and empower you.
And you know what, Sheila? If this episode moved any of you all out there, if it challenging you or gave you something you really say needed, please subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review and follow us on the social media. And remember, you can find us everywhere at Empowerment Exchange Podcast. We need every message. We'll see you during the next time. And I want
keep this conversation going, folks. Share this. Start it at your dinner table. If you're sitting at your dinner table, start it in your living room somewhere. This is how change moves. Not from the top down, but from us. Let me say that again. Change moves not from the top down, but it's from us to each other.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Now, Sheila, I'm not actually repeating because that just touched my. Can you repeat that little part again?
Change moves not from the top down, but from us to each other. We got to keep this conversation going.
Wow.
We got to keep it going.
Wow. And you know what? And I want to leave you with this. I want you to carry this with you. And I just want you, power doesn't belong to the people who shout the loudest. It belongs to the people who shows up the longest. We're still here. We're still showing up. And that's right there. And the most radical thing we have ever done is to be able to be relentless and do not allow anyone to take your dignity and your pride, especially your vote will matter. You've been educated, you've been trained. I want to see us stick together. We are resilient. If we stick together, pray together, and work together, we're undefeated. So
that's right, Clayton. We still here and we're gonna still show up. I'm Sheila, and we love you, and we'll see you next time.
Stay rooted, stay grounded, and keep rising. Because we is about real talk and about real people. Until next time, may God bless you and keep you. You keep the faith in God, because God will make a way out of no way. Have a nice day. Please share this information.